My husband cheated on me and was caught in bed. I became the object of sympathy among my colleagues. There was no quarrel or hysteria. I was emotionally stable and moved out. My husband called me repeatedly every day and bombarded me with short text messages and essays. I enjoyed reading them. I didn't block him or reply to him, which gave people the illusion that there was still room for improvement. After all, the more audiences I wanted for this farce, the better. As soon as I got off the plane, I bought a bouquet of flowers and cordially invited my colleagues who were on a business trip to my house. I gave my husband a surprise for his birthday. My colleagues were shocked by the lack of joy. As soon as I opened the door, 2 white bodies were fighting on the sofa. The battle was so fierce that 5 or 6 of us were watching. No one noticed the 2 pieces of meat. My colleagues took out their phones in embarrassment and gossip. TSK, the male colleague's voice startled the 2 people who were fighting. The mistress screamed in fear and covered her body desperately. My husband instantly shrank and hurriedly pulled the sofa towel to cover himself and the mistress. He looked up and saw me and angrily scolded, "Xiaoxi, what are you doing with so many people here?" I was filled with grief and anger and rushed out of the door. A few days ago, I received a message from my husband saying, "Wife, I have to work overtime tonight, so you don't have to wait for me to eat." I replied, "Okay." And then I liked a post in my circle of friends. The most romantic thing in the copywriting is to hug you. With red candles, steaks, red roses and interlocking fingers with men. Half of the watch was exposed on the wrist of that hand, exactly the same as the limited edition watch I gave to my husband Fan Xiaojian. Soon I received a live broadcast. My husband and his mistress were having a candlelight dinner and kissing passionately under the lights in the restaurant. Then they went to the hotel to get a room, and I smiled. Is the evidence enough? The other party's reply was not enough. Candid photos taken in public places cannot be used as evidence. You can be sued for violating other people's privacy. I was a little sad. Where can I take candid photos to obtain evidence legally? My own home. So I rolled up my bedding and went on a business trip, and made room for the 2 of them. In the picture, the mistress was wearing my suspender pajamas. She and my husband nibbled each other for a long time in my bedroom and on my bed. Only reluctantly did they separate. My husband, "I don't like this curtain. Can we change it to pink in the future?" And this bed, he slept on it, and the wardrobe, "I don't like it either." My husband hugged her and said, "Okay, it's up to you. You have the final say in this family in the future." The mistress pouted, "How long do I have to wait?" "I can wait, but our child can't." The husband caressed her belly lovingly, "Baby, you have to bear it for a while. The demolition money for their old house will come soon." "That's several million." I grasped the key point. The mistress is finally pregnant, and I'm going to force the palace. So it's my turn to play the big drama of catching an adulterer. My husband cheated on me and was caught in bed. Oh, not on the sofa. I became the object of sympathy of my colleagues. There was no quarrel or hysteria. I was emotionally stable and moved out. These days, my husband bombarded me with a series of deadly links and short text messages every day. If I don't block or reply, it makes people feel that there is still room for improvement. I still read it with relish. "Wife, I was wrong. I still love you. It was that bitch who seduced me. Honey, I swear, I will only have you in the future, and I will never contact him. Honey, I just made a mistake that all men would make. Honey, you love me so much, you will forgive me, right? For the sake of each other's dignity, let's divorce." My husband firmly disagreed and went straight to my company's parking lot to block me. His blocking me was unexpected but reasonable, because I know that it is not so easy to get a divorce, and he will not easily give up this piece of fat meat of mine. "Honey, are you angry? So you hit me a few more times, and don't make trouble when you are angry. Come home with me, okay?" He grabbed my hand and hit him in the face. When he slapped, he was stunned. "What a joke, do you think I will pull my hand back? Now you are angry, come home with me." I pulled my hand back, took 2 steps back and kept a distance from him. "Fan Xiaojian, do you think I am making trouble by divorcing you? Do you think we can continue to live with so many eyes seeing you messing around with other women in our house?" The husband softened his tone and admitted his mistake sincerely. "Wife, I swear I only love you and he seduced me. I just drank too much that day and I really never thought of betraying you. I sneered that you didn't think about it, but you took action directly. Because of you, I can't raise my head in the company. All of them look at me with ridicule and pity. I have become a joke." Talking about being watched, my husband suppressed his anger. "How could I have known that so many people would see us? If you hadn't kept silent and brought so many people here, how could they have seen us?" I laughed out of anger. "You mean that it was because I brought people here that you were caught and had an affair at home? It's all my fault." "That's not what I meant. Xiaoxi, please stop making trouble. I'm making trouble for Fan Xiaojian. You haven't really realized your mistake until now. You cheated and betrayed me, had an affair in our home, and did such disgusting things. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to divorce you and help you two be together. Am I making trouble? I'm determined to get a divorce. I turned around and got in the car, closed the door, started the engine and stepped on the accelerator, leaving him roaring alone. I have drafted a divorce contract. The house we live in now was bought with the money from the sale of my pre-marriage house, so it belongs to me as a joint loan, and the new house should also belong to me half. Who knew that Fan Xiaojian got angry at this decision? He blocked me and threw the divorce agreement in front of me. You want both the house and the money, Zhao Xiaoxi, what are you doing? You are so materialistic, please don't eat in such an ugly way. I was about to return the toast, but someone ran out of the kitchen in a hurry. It turned out to be his mother who was supposed to be at home. Well, it turned out that she went to ask for help these 2 days. Mother-in-law held my hand and said earnestly, Xiaoxi, a couple quarreled at the head of the bed and made up at the foot of the bed. Husband and wife don't have overnight grudges. You have been making trouble for so many days. Take it easy. Mom will make you something delicious. I pulled my hand away distantly, took out a tissue in front of him, and wiped the hand that he touched. First of all, I was the one making trouble. It's your son. My son cheated on me and brought him home. My colleague saw it with his own eyes. I like cleanliness and don't want any dirt to get into my body, so don't come to me again to try to make peace. And didn't you dislike my inability to have children? Congratulations. Let him sign the divorce agreement, and you will be able to hold your grandson soon. Are you willing to see the only root of your Fan family become an illegitimate child? When the grandson was mentioned, the mother-in-law's eyes lit up, but then she restrained herself a little. Xiaoxi, Mom only recognizes you as her daughter-in-law. That woman is poor and has 2 children. How can you be worthy of being my daughter-in-law? I have asked Xiaojian to break up with her. Don't worry, you will be the biological mother of the child after the birth. We will never let that woman appear in front of you. I interrupted her beautiful fantasy and asked me to raise a bastard. The word bastard stimulated the mother-in-law severely. The corners of her mouth twitched, and she tried to suppress her anger. How could she say it so harshly? Xiaojian's child is also your child. She will also take care of you in the future. Besides, you can't give birth to a child. If you divorce again, your life will be ruined. I am doing this for your own good. The mother-in-law snorted, took off her apron, sat on the sofa and picked up the money. Even if you want a divorce, you haven't made much money in the past few years since you married into our Fan family, and you haven't given birth to a child. You have delayed Xiaojian for so many years. We don't want compensation, but don't even think about taking the house. I laughed. We are worthy of being mother and son. We spoke more confidently than each other. Fan Xiaojian and I have been in love for 2 years and have been married for 3 years. From campus to wedding dress, my classmates think that I married. It's great to be in love. When I was 18 years old, my parents had already bought me a small 2-bedroom house with full payment. Fan Xiaojian's family conditions were not very good, but he was ambitious and hardworking, and took good care of me. Therefore, our family did not ask him to buy a car or a house. We planned to use my small 2-bedroom house as a wedding house, but Fan Xiaojian firmly opposed it. He said that no matter how hard or tired he was, he had to give me a home. So a few days later, he appeared in front of me with a warm real estate certificate, and excitedly told me that this was our new home. I was as excited as he was. He saw the house and bought it himself. It was very close to my company. It was a 3-bedroom house, and the house title was in his name alone. I knew he didn't want to be accused of being a gigolo, so he didn't want to live in my small 2-bedroom house, so I acquiesced. Moreover, the law also stipulates that even if he paid the down payment, the loan repayment part and the appreciation part are still the common property of the husband and wife. So even if the house is not in my name, I don't mind, and I won't suffer any loss. This house carries my I spent 3 years of happiness with him. I found out about Fan Xiaojian's affair half a year ago. I attended their company party as a family member. Perhaps it was because of a woman's strong sixth sense, but at first sight, I felt that a girl looked at me differently. She seemed to be smiling, but in fact her smile was full of jealousy and hatred. He was his apprentice, very beautiful, cheerful, sweet-mouthed and full of youthful vitality. After dinner, he even added me on WeChat. He winked at me mischievously and said that my husband was so outstanding. As his apprentice, he would report to me immediately if Yin pestered my husband, until I finally found out that the mysterious boyfriend who often showed affection in his circle of friends had too many similarities with my husband. I staged countless quarrels in my mind. Should I go to their company to slap the mistress, or let the scumbag and the bitch be ruined, and then make a scene, and then pick up the scumbag and continue to live together, or make a fight that hurts both sides and ends in divorce? They can be hurt, but I can't be wrong. I want to be that shrew. I am the victim and should not be so disgraceful. I should stop the loss in time with dignity, so I kept silent and pretended to be a fool who was fooled, allowing the mistress to provoke me on WeChat moments. I was still happy to like the posts and praise her boyfriend. I also found a professional detective on the advertisements to collect evidence, But photos can be photoshopped, cheating can be denied, and secretly taking photos in public is illegal, so it is difficult to obtain evidence. But one thing is ironclad evidence: having a child, so I deliberately hinted that women must have children, unlike me who have not been pregnant for 3 years after marriage. Fortunately, the mistress lived up to my expectations and finally got pregnant. They took me to court. The wicked filed the complaint first, but before the trial began, the two of them came to my door angrily at my workplace in public. "What did you Zhao Xiaoxi, you vicious woman, do? Why can't the house be transferred?" I watched her throw it on the table. The real estate certificate with my mother-in-law's name on it should have been snatched back from the intermediary, and the house sale contract was signed. The agent will take the real estate certificate away. I picked it up, dusted it off and smiled. Oh, I get it. I bought the house 2 years ago and the sales restriction was lifted. In the past few years, the price has increased by hundreds of thousands because of the policy. You can't wait to sell the house and embezzle the money. It's a pity that although your name is written on the house title, the house is still not yours. You must get my consent if you want to sell it. The mother-in-law sat down on the ground and cried, made a fuss, and even threatened to hang herself. Come and see, everyone, this vicious woman did not know what means she used to snatch my house away. Although everyone knows that the scumbag cheated, my name is not on the house title. The people around me also started to talk about it. I was not in a hurry and kept calm, which was in sharp contrast to the two of them who were throwing tantrums. Isn't it good for Fan Xiaojian to be decent? You hide behind your mother and watch your mother rolling around like a shrew. Are you a man? Looking at the pointing and talking around, Fan Xiaojian was furious and pulled the mother-in-law who was rolling on the ground up, and watched the fun. There were so many people, and the mother-in-law started crying and wailing again. The vicious daughter-in-law wanted to snatch the mother-in-law's house and force me, an old woman, to death. Why am I so miserable to meet such a vicious daughter-in-law? I crossed my arms and watched her performance quietly. It took a long time before I spoke. I paid for the house and just borrowed your name. There is a problem with me getting my own house back. You're talking nonsense. I bought the house with the coffin money I saved all my life. You said it was your money. Do you have any evidence? Who of you would pay for a house without writing your own name? Let's all judge. I sneered. It's true. As soon as our lips touched, the house worth more than 1 million yuan became his coffin money. It's not that I looked down on him. How can his coffin be worth so much money? He turned black and white, embezzled my property, and threw dirty water on my head. There is no book to sell. 1 year after marriage, Fan Xiaojian found a large denomination deposit certificate of mine in my cabinet. It was my New Year's money since I was a child and the education fund my parents saved for me. The compound interest of time has made this money reach more than 1 million. Later, the scattered deposit certificates expired. I saved it up as a bill, and 1 year after my marriage, when the 3-year term was exactly up, Fan Xiaojian suggested to me that we buy another house for investment, and we could leave it to our children in the future. However, we already had 2 houses under our names and were no longer eligible to buy a house. Fan Xiaojian racked his brains for a long time and thought that he could buy it in my mother's name. Aren't there many people buying houses in other people's names now? It just so happens that the purchase restriction policy is a little more relaxed than before, and I can supplement my mother's social security for 1 year. Wouldn't that make her eligible? I had already inquired about the original policy clearly. I looked at her energetic appearance and nodded. Indeed, cash would attract too many people, so it would be better to change it into assets. After I nodded, Fan Xiaojian immediately brought my mother-in-law over, and quickly handled the home purchase qualification. She spent the whole day studying second-hand houses with her mobile phone. My mother-in-law was even more scorching under the scorching sun, and she would often take the agent out to look at houses. After their unremitting efforts, they soon decided on a subway house with a good location and decoration, at 2 West Gate, Rongqing, the starting station of Line 1. The deposit of 1.5 million was deducted from my card. The house purchase contract was written in my mother-in-law's name. Because it was a full payment and no loan was required, the transfer was relatively simple. In order to finish it in 1 day and not have to run an extra day, we chose online review and submitted the buyer and seller's information for review 3 days in advance. On the day of the transfer, we submitted the documents, paid taxes, and picked up the documents. The day before the transfer, I needed to deposit the money into my mother-in-law's account, but my mother-in-law and husband came to me anxiously. My mother-in-law forgot the bank card password and locked the card. It would take 3 days to unlock it. What should I do? The transfer is tomorrow, and the card is locked. I can't apply for a new card. The card application is very strict now, and I must submit a proof of work. My mother can't get a proof of work at all. I smiled and said, "Yes, what should I do?" At the same time, I quickly contacted the intermediary for consultation. The intermediary quickly analyzed the pros and cons for me from a professional perspective. Fan Xiaojian said cautiously, Why don't you go and withdraw cash? It's only a little after 3 o'clock now, so it should be in time, otherwise you will miss it tomorrow. We have to pay liquidated damages for transferring ownership, and we can't even get back the 50,000 yuan deposit we paid. I nodded in agreement. The next day my mother-in-law held the cash tightly in her arms, fearing that someone else would snatch it away. She took a number at the housing authority, submitted documents and paid taxes in the morning, and transferred the money at noon. While waiting for the number to be handed in and picked up in the afternoon, my husband received a call. He turned around in a hurry for several circles on the spot, and then he said to me apologetically, "Wife, my company has an emergency. You stay here with me. Mom, I'll go first. The company is closed. You can take a taxi back by yourselves." After getting the new real estate certificate, looking at the big red real estate certificate with the black name printed on it, my mother-in-law smiled so much that the wrinkles on her face could crush a cow to death. I didn't expect that I, an old woman, could still own my own house when I'm old. This is more than 1 million yuan. Mom, we haven't finished it yet. There is another window over there. We have to register before it's considered finished. Okay, let's do it all at once, then let's go and do it quickly. So, under the stimulation of the big red book, the literate mother-in-law signed her crooked name and handled the priority mortgage, and I have no right to claim the house, but I do have the right to sell it to a bank, and I have no right to claim the house, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and I do not have the right to sell it to a bank, and they saved my parents and saved decades of New Year's money and education funds for me. Now it seems that I was right. When they asked me to withdraw cash to buy a house and did not give me the opportunity to prove my investment, they had already planned to embezzle my property. It's a pity that the law is sacred and just, and it should not allow them to speculate like this. You bitch, you must not die well. You schemed against me, my house, and you are going to force me to death. Give me back my house, my house. My mother-in-law used her trick of throwing a tantrum again, and I just watched the show. In order to transfer the property as soon as possible, they sold the house at a price tens of thousands lower than the market price, signed a sales contract, and received a deposit of 50,000 from the buyer. Because I did not cooperate with the lifting of the mortgage and transfer, the buyer went to the intermediary to make a fuss and wanted to cancel the contract and compensate double the deposit. The intermediary called me to discuss, and I comforted her and rest assured, I would cancel the contract and refund the money, and let my mother-in-law pay the penalty for breach of contract. In the end, my mother-in-law had to grit her teeth and return the deposit in tears. 50,000 was the same amount of compensation. Although she was reluctant, we had no choice but to give it. After all, there was still a big payoff to come. I spent 50,000 yuan to buy $1 million property, but my dream was shattered. Soon the divorce case was opened, or more precisely, the property division case was opened. Fan Xiaojian's lawyer argued that since our marriage, all common property has been divided equally. The house we live in now is the man's premarital property and will not be divided. Let's take it one by one. First of all, the house we bought together after marriage. The other party's evidence is very clear. Our marriage certificate and real estate certificate. The dates of the two certificates, with the marriage certificate in front and the real estate certificate in the back, prove that it was purchased during the marriage and is the common property of the couple. Although this house was purchased after marriage, the purchase price was the proceeds from the sale of a small 2-bedroom house I had before marriage, and I added some money to purchase it, so it should be my personal property before marriage and will not be divided. Although Fan Xiaojian was tricked by me with the house of my mother-in-law, this house was indeed purchased during the marriage, and some of the money during the marriage was added to it. According to the law, it is the common property of the marriage. Zhao Xiaoxi, stay decent and don't slander me. I hope you can keep your dignity in the end. I have evidence to prove that the house is my personal property. In order to take care of Fan Xiaojian's self-esteem, we moved into the house he bought after marriage, and my small suite 2 was rented out. Last year, Fan Xiaojian asked me to sell the small suite 2 and exchange it for a higher-priced house on the grounds of optimizing assets. I thought about it and agreed to it, told my parents about it, and consulted a professional agent. Although I sold the small second house I bought before marriage, the house price was kept in the card and not a penny was touched. The purchase of the new house during marriage was all thanks to my parents' wealth. According to my parents, my daughter, your premarital house was originally left for you as a foundation. The house can be sold, but you can keep the money. If you don't want to work, you can use the money to build a big house and your parents will buy it for you. So Fan Xiaojian carefully calculated and turned my premarital personal house property into post-marriage common property. In fact, it was given to me by my parents who dote on their daughter. My parents are businessmen and like to leave a way out for everything. So they signed the notarized gift on the spot to prove that the house price of this house was given to me by my parents in full. As my personal property, I will not participate in the division. I provided the flow of my parents' transfers at that time, and the public gift certificate. Fan Xiaojian and the mother-in-law's evil plan failed again. They were even so angry that they roared in the court and wanted to beat me. Zhao Xiaoxi, you bitch, you schemed against me. It turns out you have been guarding against me so early. How can you be so scheming? His anger made him lose face. I Xiao can't compare to you. You should not have the intention to harm others, but you must be on guard against others. If I hadn't kept away to preserve my own property, my parents' hard-earned money would have really been used by the scumbag to get rich. I still kept this house, but Fan Xiaojian and the mother-in-law were not satisfied and applied for a recess to continue looking for evidence. They lost 2 houses in a row and were so anxious that their mouths were bubbling. While waiting for the next court session, Fan Xiaojian didn't know where he got the sutra, and it was like he had opened up his Ran and Do meridians. He asked about his health on time every morning and evening, and often sent me some cases of divorced women who were living a miserable life trying to break me. I was so old, not a girl in my 20s, and I couldn't have children after divorce. I looked ordinary. Tong, if it weren't for the better financial situation at home, you would never have been able to get married, and it would be even more impossible in the future. Xiaoxi, we have been together for so many years. Are you really willing to give up our feelings for so many years because of such a small thing? You can't do housework, you can't cook. If I didn't accommodate you, you would only be able to eat unhealthy takeout, and if you leave me in the future, you won't be able to eat such delicious meals. Xiaoxi, I know you are just angry. I have a relationship with another woman, but I have no feelings for her. She is not as gentle and kind as you, and you only know how to ask me for money. You are still the only one in my heart. Don't make trouble, it will be so bad if it gets out. I promise you, as long as you come back and live a good life with me, I will only have you. You see, you have calculated me, let's just consider it even, okay? Haven't you always wanted me to accompany you to watch the sunrise? Let's go watch the sunrise, or go to the sea. Didn't you say you haven't seen the sea? Let's go to Sanya, go to Thailand, and I will teach you how to dive. I looked at my hands. The little essay on the plane paused and replied with a word, okay. Then Fan Xiaojian excitedly sent me a trip to the beach and diving, and even booked the plane ticket. I sneered and didn't reply. I just wanted to see whether the husband who had slept in the same bed with him for many years really dared to do it for the property. Yes, for the house. Fan Xiaojian was ready to kill his wife. The mistress instigated it, and the mother-in-law acquiesced. In the video, the mistress and Fan Xiaojian enthusiastically discussed how to get back the 2 lost houses. Formal means would definitely not work, so they thought of a way to obtain the inheritance. If I died unexpectedly, then my property would become the inheritance, and Fan Xiaojian would be my legal heir. So the 2 of them discussed taking me diving, letting me drown accidentally, or watching the sunrise, and pushing me off the mountain so that I would be completely destroyed. In this way, not only could they inherit my inheritance, but they could even ask the scenic spot for compensation. However, my parents are still alive and are also the first heirs. They will take most of my inheritance, so they will borrow. Aza asked me to sign the travel accident insurance and then kill me. If he pushed me off the cliff, I would be dragged by a tree and not die completely, and all his efforts would fail. So he finally decided to take me diving. I am a landlubber and cannot swim at all. Once in the water, I would be at the mercy of others. He took me to Sanya, and we reminisced about the past together at the beach, recalling the good old days. Honey, have you forgiven me? Can we live a good life together? My eyes were red. You swear that you will never contact that woman again and never betray me again. Otherwise you will be struck by lightning and have no descendants. Fan Xiaojian hurriedly raised his hand to swear, and I burst into laughter. We put on our diving suits, and I backed out before going into the water. Why don't we go in? I'm afraid that the oxygen tank will break down underwater and I can't swim, so what if I drown? Fan Xiaojian's body froze. Don't worry, I will protect you. He personally brought oxygen equipment for me and pushed me into the water. Didn't he want me to die? In order to make it easier to kill, he took me to dive outside the safe range. When we arrived at the place he had prepared, he suddenly rushed over, quickly handcuffed my hands, clasped one hand behind my back, and with the other hand took off my goggles and my oxygen mask, and detached the oxygen cylinder from me. I struggled desperately and pulled off his mask, revealing his hideous face, but big gulps of water suddenly poured into my throat. Slowly, I stopped struggling and my body sank slowly. Before Fan Xiaojian left, he even pressed my head and pushed me down. When the court session resumed, I appeared in the court late. Fan Xiaojian and my mother-in-law were scared pale as if they had seen a ghost. I waved to them with a bright smile. I didn't mention what happened at the beach at all, but just continued to divide our property. Slowly, Fan Xiaojian came to his senses. There were only 2 of us in the sea at that time. Even if I called the police, it would be useless. There was no evidence at all and we were getting a divorce. It was completely reasonable for the two of us to go diving and use the excuse of a quarrel, and for one person to go back. Even if I knew he wanted to kill me, I had no evidence and there was nothing I could do to him. Although it was a pity that he didn't kill me, a smug expression slowly appeared on his face. Now, the problem of the wedding house we had lived in for a few years was solved. I argued that although the house was bought by Fan Xiaojian before marriage, it was a loan house, and I should get half of the loan repayment and appreciation. The market conditions have been relatively good in recent years, and the house has appreciated by hundreds of thousands, so I can also get a lot. I don't covet other people's property, but I will never be soft-hearted about what I deserve. Fan Xiaojian produced a certificate that it had been paid off before the marriage, and the loan was the full payment before marriage. The house should belong to the man's personal property before marriage, and should not be divided. Fan Xiaojian suffered 2 consecutive defeats and lost millions, and he had long hated me. At this last house, they carefully calculated and finally defeated me, with a look of smugness on their faces. The pleasure of revenge. It turns out that you had planned it before we got married. No wonder our family didn't require us to buy a house, but you couldn't wait to buy it, and you also lied to me that you had to pay the mortgage every month and didn't hand in your salary. You used my money for family expenses. Did you make me a fool? The mother-in-law pouted. Our Fan family's house has let you live in it for free for a few years, and we didn't charge you rent. It's a bargain for you. Why should you share it? Why are you so materialistic? I just had a few melons and 2 dates when I came back to your house. What kind of money do I have for you to worship? You are using all kinds of tricks to embezzle other people's property, aren't you too? You think you can't give me a share if you pay the full amount before marriage? In view of my fighting power for the first 2 houses, Fan Xiaojian's face changed slightly. What do you mean? Can you still force me? How did you buy your house and how did you settle the case with the full amount before marriage? You know it very well, don't you? I thought the personal property paid in full before marriage was stable, and it was impossible to share it with an outsider like me. But they are greedy. It was really too ugly, so ugly that I couldn't help but enforce justice. I provided evidence to the court on the spot to prove that I was eligible for a share of the house. After discovering that Fan Xiaojian had cheated, I hired a detective to investigate the two of them. In the surveillance video sent by the detective, there was a segment where Fan Xiaojian promised the mistress that the house would be named after the mistress. The mistress asked if she was taking out a loan, and it seemed that a house with a loan couldn't have a name added. Fan Xiaojian smiled proudly and said, "What loan? This is a fully paid house. If it is a loan, it will have to be divided among the women after marriage." The mistress's eyes sparkled. Brother Jian is so awesome. He bought the house with full payment. To tell you the truth, the full payment is more than 1 million. Where can I get so much money? Do you know about bridge loans? I will borrow money to pay off the bank mortgage in one go, and it will become a fully paid house, which is my personal property before marriage. After marriage, I will use the common property of the couple to repay the bridge loan. Isn't this the best of both worlds? The house is saved and I don't have to share it with that woman. That idiot thought I was still paying off the mortgage. Brother Jian was so smart. It was then that I realized that Fan Xiaojian had been using me from the beginning to the end, plotting to buy a house for myself, making me bear the joint debt, paying off his mortgage for nothing, and also plotting to embezzle my property. I took advantage of Fan Xiaojian's carelessness and took his marriage certificate, his ID card and bank card to withdraw his bank statements, the money he paid for his mistress, his mother-in-law, and the bridge company. Every transaction was clear and obvious. I even found the bridge company and made a copy of the contract I signed at the beginning to prove that the money was used to repay the house loan. It was a loan repaid with the common property of the couple. The repayment part and the appreciation part belonged to the common property of the couple, and should be divided. Zhao Xiaoxi, you fucking check me. Fan Xiaojian was furious, slammed the table, veins popped out. I smiled indifferently. Fan Xiaojian, if you didn't plot against me, why would you be afraid of being investigated? Keep your dignity. In the murderous eyes of Fan Xiaojian and his mother-in-law, I got this house except for the first. I said, I'm going to give you half of the property. The house goes to Fan Xiaojian, and I'll be compensated with money. But even if Fan Xiaojian's family sells everything they have, they can't come up with that much money. I proposed that the house belong to me, and I will compensate Fan Xiaojian with the down payment and half of the appreciation in cash, and we will be granted a divorce. So far, the divorce lawsuit that lasted for more than half a year has come to an end, and the divorce judgment is in hand. There is more to come, and Fan Xiaojian has lost miserably. After the lawsuit, he is like a dogskin plaster, calling me all day long and sending me short essays saying, "Wife, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Can you forgive me, okay? Wife, I really won't have any more affairs. I only love you. Wife, we have been together for so many years. Can you really bear to give up? Wife, I know you still love me. Can we remarry?" I replied, "Let me help the poor again. Do you think I'm in trouble? There's a saying about being a sucker written on my head. Is it unfair? Or should I give you another chance to kill me? Fan Xiaojian said. Wife, believe me, that's only it was an accident. I really wanted to save you, but you kept struggling. If I hadn't left, we would both have died there, and so would I. In order to have someone to take care of your parents in the future, luckily you came back alive, thank God. I watched his performance coldly. It was really hard to understand his train of thought. Did he really think I was a fool? Hadn't I specially learned to swim before? Wanting to explore the romantic underwater world with him? I would really die. I gave him a take care of yourself smile, then deleted and blocked him. The one dragon defense battle was over. And now it was time to hunt. I took my mother-in-law to court and submitted new evidence. During the marriage, my mother-in-law asked Fan Xiaojian for money for various reasons. Of course, as the breadwinner of the family, Fan Xiaojian used all his salary to pay off the mortgage in order to give me a good living environment, so he had no extra money. As a filial daughter-in-law, I naturally paid for it. Sometimes he was in poor health and needed to go to the hospital for treatment, and sometimes he needed to repair the ancestral grave. We have been married for 3 years, and later, the money I transferred to my mother-in-law from my card alone was 150,000 yuan. Even the gift money we received for our wedding was taken back by him on the grounds that he borrowed a lot of money to give me a grand wedding. I am just rich, not stupid. Every time I transfer money, I will note the name of the transaction and indicate that it is lent to my mother-in-law. She only collects money and has no time to pay attention to these details. So this is normal private lending, not a tribute to my mother-in-law as a daughter-in-law. I should return it. If I don't have money, then I can deduct it from the house compensation. Well, the compensation for their house is 150,000 yuan less. No, I should say that I got back 150,000 yuan from the money I used to feed the dog. In fact, I know that all the money was used by my mother-in-law to repay relatives. They are really bold. The down payment for the house was 400,000 yuan, and a full 300,000 yuan was borrowed from here and there. After marriage, Fan Xiaojian sent back a part of it every month. From time to time, my mother-in-law would take some of my money to repay relatives under various pretexts. According to my investigation, there is still about 100,000 yuan of foreign debt, and the house is still in debt. Because the compensation for the son had appreciated in value, I compensated them. Not only could they pay off all their foreign debts, but they could also mortgage a smaller house and live comfortably. I was a little sad, and then I took the mistress to court, demanding that he return the money that Fan Xiaojian had spent on him during the period of my marriage to Fan Xiaojian. From big things like buying a branded chartered house to small things like every date, dinner, movie and hotel room, and even every bouquet of roses and every cup of milk tea I bought. We had been together for more than a year, and had spent a total of more than 100,000 yuan with both decimals and integers without any decimals being rounded off, which was pretty good. I compensated them 50,000 less. The mistress was pregnant with their crown prince, and went to a small hospital for a checkup, and found out it was a son. Fan Xiaojian had to grit his teeth and accept the money. With the judgment, Grandma Qian and Fan Xiaojian had to cooperate with me in transferring the ownership of the house, and after many twists and turns, it was written under Grandma Qian's name. The house was still sold to the original buyer at the same price. Oh no, they also made 50,000 yuan in liquidated damages, and they have to thank Grandma Qian for that. Mother-in-law, this house also made me hundreds of thousands of dollars. After deducting various things, I transferred 450,000 yuan to Fan Xiaojian, and revealed the news that the Fan family had hundreds of thousands of dollars to the mistress, which helped the mistress to successfully force marriage, and used the remaining 350,000 yuan to mortgage a small house in a not-so-good location. As expected, the mistress gave birth to a son. Fan Xiaojian had a house, a wife, and a son, and his family was happy, so I was unhappy. But when I was unhappy, I had to make up stories, and I could make up stories as much as I could. I sent the evidence that Fan Xiaojian had an affair with the mistress during his marriage, and conspired to embezzle my property to Fan Xiaojian's leader. In the end, the couple both paid off the house. Of course, the mistress had resigned before on the grounds of keeping the pregnancy, otherwise she would not have been able to resign. Without Fan Xiaojian's high salary, the warm new house that had not yet been lived in, the mistress who was about to stop paying, the crying but good-for-nothing mistress, and the son who was crying all day long, Fan Xiaojian almost collapsed. He had completely lost his former dignity, and he drank all day, complained about everything and finally fell into his current state. The reason for his current situation is all due to the mistress. If it weren't for the mistress, he would still be with me, a rich woman with several houses under his name, a luxury car, and a mansion. His family is prosperous and his outside is full of colorful flags. His life is so happy. The mistress originally thought that she was with a young and promising bachelor with a house and a car, but it turned out that he was a poor man who lived off his wife. The two of them were fed up with each other, quarreling all day long, and their lives were in chaos. I smiled and released a trump card that I will treasure for many years. During the marriage examination, The test report of Fan Xiaojian's infertility was sent to him. After that, mistress, don't beat her so badly that her face was disfigured and her ribs were broken. She was half dead. Contact me and I will return Fan Xiaojian to you. You give me 1 million, just 1 million, and I will never appear in front of you again. I laughed and said that Fan Xiaojian is so valuable in your eyes, but garbage should be thrown into the trash can. You scumbags and bitches should be locked up. The mistress has received the punishment she deserves. It's time for my ultimate hunting. I went to the police station to report the case. I spent highly paid detectives, expensive cameras. They imprisoned Fan Xiaojian in the water, pulled off my mask, took my oxygen and even pressed me down. The video was clear, and I could see his hideous face when he committed the crime. Not surprisingly, Fan Xiaojian attempted murder but failed. He was put in an iron cage. The mistress, with a disfigured face, took her illegitimate child to find her biological father, but was also beaten out. She will never be able to harm others with that face again in her life, and Fan Xiaojian is in jail. Before the house was auctioned off due to default, my mother-in-law calculated, and her son went to jail, her eldest grandson was gone, and her house was gone. I guess he will be very poor in his later years. From catching the adulterer to now preserving the property to dealing with the scumbag, it took a whole year. Although it was time-consuming and laborious, I finally got rid of the scumbag and preserved my own property. In marriage, we don't calculate anything, but we must protect ourselves and our family's property. The law is fair and just. We must learn to use the law to protect our legal rights and interests. The whole text is over.